Here we go. I'm super excited. Lab Code Agents, thank you so much for taking the time. As always, LCA family, I'm your host, Greg Fowler, founder of Lionbolt Media, and we got a very special topic today for today's webinar, Click to Close, Mastering PPC Strategies for Real Estate. Now, this is huge because we do have our good friend here at Lab Code Agents, Philip Pasma. Now, Philip is the owner and president of Asterisk Marketing. Philip and the crew eat, sleep, and breathe PPC, SEO, LSA. I mean, all the good stuff that you really want to do when it comes to marketing. And so I can't wait to dive into this and for Philip to just drop so many bombs. So before we jump in, though, I do want to let everybody know if you have any thoughts, any questions, I'll be monitoring the comments. So please jump in anytime. We'll also leave a little bit at the end for Q&A. But Philip, without further ado, my friend, thanks for taking the time. It's an honor.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So I have a presentation that I'm going to share my screen that I have for everyone. Hopefully that's enabled so that I can go ahead and do that. And I'll try to be sensitive with everyone's time and try to pack it full of value and try to get to everyone's questions at the end. So I'm going to go ahead. So like Greg mentioned, this is all about pay-per-click. It's a big topic. I'm going to try to stay a little bit high level. There's some little nitty-gritty we'll get into, more the techie side, but I'll try to cover most of the high-level stuff. And well, here's the agenda. Let's just go into that. So overview of pay-per-click. I know not everyone knows what it is and what it entails, so we'll kind of briefly go over that. We will go over the benefits, because that's right. You want to know, why should I be doing pay-per-click, why it is of interest to you, what makes an effective campaign, right? You gotta Okay, so you're sold on it, but now how do you run one? And then some common mistakes we see people when they do run it. So we will jump right into that. So first off, what is pay-per-click, right? So PPC, it's what it stands for. So it's a form of online advertising, mainly in Google and Microsoft. It can actually fall under the Facebook umbrella, but it's essentially when someone clicks on an ad and then you pay for it. So it's every time someone clicks on an ad, you pay, say, $1 or $2, depending on what keyword you are targeting. And so what you do is you bid on specific keywords. So someone goes to Google, types in real estate agent in Miami, ad pops up, they click on it, and that is essentially what it is. And here's kind of a screenshot of it. So here you can see I typed in Miami new homes for sale. So these three highlighted things are sponsored ads. You can see that in the top left. These are ads that these companies, advertisers, agents are running. Obviously, they want you to click on their ad and complete an action. And then below that is the organic listing. So that's an SEO thing. So you got your paid listings, and then you have your organic listings. So this you can get up very quickly. If you create an ad, you can get up here quite quickly. Organic takes much longer, especially for big terms like this. It's really big companies like Realtor and Zillow and all this kind of stuff play in that space. SEO is a whole different topic, so we won't get into that too much. Just know that these are the paid listings, and then this is the organic listings. And this doesn't cost any money. It's just time and effort to get you there, which these companies have certainly spent a lot of. So PPC campaigns can be set up and managed through the platforms that I mentioned before. So they run through Google and they run through Microsoft. So that's where companies run them through. So if you were running them yourselves, it would be run through those two things. If you are running them through like a company like us, we're called media buyers, we would use those two things to run the campaigns. And again, this is kind of getting into the specifics. So this is actually what it looks like for those who are interested in the back end of a Google Ads campaign. And I know it's like overwhelming. There's a lot of data. And for most people, this is why you pay experts to try to sift out all this information, what's important, what's not. But this is kind of what it looks like. Obviously, you can dive a lot deeper, and there's different things that you can look into, ad groups, keywords, all that kind of stuff. But we'll get into the benefit of Google Ads and why all of this information is so important. And then what are the benefits, right? So we kind of know about Google Ads in a high level, right? Click on an ad, it costs you X amount. You try to get a lead out of it. So what are the actual benefits? Why should you be doing it? Google Ads specifically. So obviously at the end of the day, we want ROI, right? We want leads, and we want leads that turn into closings, and PPC has a huge ROI potential. We have clients that have 10 to 1, 15 to 1, 21 return on their ad investment. It's high intent, right? It's no shade on Facebook, right? Facebook can be great, but people don't go to Facebook looking for a home or for a real estate agent per se, right? They do go to Google to do that. That's where everybody goes to research. So it can be very high intent. So obviously we want to know that there's huge ROI potential. And then another thing is it's scalable, which a lot of people really like. So we talk to a lot of agents who are very successful, sphere of influence, referrals, but it's not predictable. They don't know when they're going to come from. Whereas with and you can't necessarily spend like $1,000 more a month on your sphere and outcomes X. Whereas with pay-per-click, once you get it kind of down to a science, you can scale it. So if you have a team, you're adding more team members, increase the budget, out comes more leads, or vice versa. If you need to scale back, you absolutely can do that. There's a lot of control within Google Ads in terms of, or pay-per-click, in terms of what you're targeting, which we're going to get into these benefits a little more. So there's no like with other advertise or not with other campaigns, right? Like maybe you can't have certain zip codes because they're sold out or someone has it. Whereas with pay-per-click, it's like you can target zip codes, real estate agents, homes, all these different things, which I'll kind of touch on. So there's a lot of control with what you can do. Results can be very, very quick in terms of once you set up your campaign, you can start showing ads within a few hours and start getting leads in very, very quickly. So results can be quite quick compared to like say SEO, which could take 6, 12 a year to really start generating results. It's flexible. So you can spend 500 a month. You could spend 5,000 a month. You could pause on the weekends. You could pause in the morning. So maybe you don't want to work Wednesdays. You could pause your ads so you don't get any leads there. So it is very flexible as well, which I think a lot of people enjoy. And then of course, it's also very measurable, right? I showed you that graph or that picture before. You can see so many stats, leads, cost per click, cost per lead, click-through rate, all of these kinds of things. ROI, of course. So it's very measurable, which is a huge bonus as well. So yeah, just getting into a little more specific about some of the benefits, and some of these things are things that I really like too as an advertiser, and I know a lot of our clients like as well. So targeting specific search terms. So there's a lot of campaigns you can run within Google. You can run one of the most popular campaign is a buyer campaign, which you do get a lot of sellers for, but it's people looking for new homes, right? That's where most of the traffic is online when it comes to real estate. There's not nearly as much traffic for people looking for a real estate agent or home valuation. A lot of it is looking for a new home, which makes sense. It's fun, it's exciting. So a lot of people look that up. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. So you can do, of course, a city search. So Miami homes for sale, or you can do a type of home. So there's tons of types of homes. There's luxury or acreage or a 2-story, 3-bedroom, condo, lofts, like ranch. There's so many different ways that you can target and get really creative. You can do new developments, which is a great one to go after. Specific zip codes you can target. Like I said earlier, neighborhoods. So maybe you live in the neighborhood, or like the neighborhood you live in, you really want to target. You can target that specific neighborhood. So it's these get very granular, but the more granular you get, the better results you can get as well. You can do condo building. So if you're in a bigger city, specific condo buildings, counties, school districts. And then there's other ways that you can do is relocation. So if you're a relocation expert, maybe you're in Florida or some of these other more desirable locations, you can exclude all of your state or county and only get people from out of town. You can do people looking for home valuation. So this is more of a seller play. What's my home worth? Zillow's estimate, that type of thing. You can do people looking for real estate agents. So this is fairly high intent. There is the caveat there that LSA ads are running as well. So Google screened, right? Most of you have seen this. So that does show up first, and that's under the Google umbrella, but you can also run search ads or text ads. And then you can also run map sponsored ads on the map. So if you have LSA and then you have a text ad and then you have it on maps, and then maybe organically, you're doing extremely well for a very valuable term. There's a cash buyer, sell my home quickly, those type of keywords, very expensive, but you can certainly go after it. Short-term rentals and a lot more. Like these are some of the heavy hitters, but you can target a bunch of different stuff. You can go after blogs like best neighborhood in whatever, Fort Worth, right? You can go after informational searches as well. So there's just a ton of opportunity to get really, really creative and do things that a lot of people are not doing. And then you can get in by audience. So you can actually layer on audience targeting. At the base of pay-per-click, you target by keywords, but then you can layer on these other components. So you can actually target by income. So maybe you're a luxury real estate agent, or maybe you just want to target higher incomes. You can actually target people by their income level. You can target people by home ownership. So if they actually own a home or not. So if you want more sellers, that's one way that that you can do. You can layer on audience targeting. You can do in-market. So Google has an in-market thing for people looking for residential or commercial properties, which can also help. Again, at the base, we're using keywords, but this is all stuff that can help refine our audience. People looking for apartments, new constructions, rentals, pre-owned houses. You can go as marital status, right? So if you want to target families, which is my next one, parents, right? You can actually gear it towards that. So you can start to get the sense that there's a lot of options to do within the pay-per-click. So it's it's definitely a benefit if you want to get very specific. And education level as well. There is, like, you could get too granular with this stuff. So there is that caveat where it's like, you don't want to get too specific. You still need leads, right? But there is a lot of options to narrow down your targeting. And then, like as I said previously, you can get results really, really quickly. Once you enable your campaigns, they can start appearing within an hour or so. So it's very, very quick, where your ads can start appearing at the top for the keywords that you choose. Obviously, it's somewhat dependent on competition and all that kind of stuff, but it can be quick. And then again, it's very measurable. Here's a beautiful table with a lot of stats. Again, it's just like all of this information. And for a lot of people who aren't running Google Ads, again, this is not like something that you would probably ever look at. You're probably more thinking about leads and quality and hopefully converting the leads, and that's where most of your energy is spent. But for those who do run Google Ads, like, they have to be dialed in on what all of this stuff means and how to improve it and how to continue to improve it. Pay-per-click is not a set it and forget it type thing. It's not something where someone runs and then you never hear from them again and they don't optimize it. It should be an ongoing partnership, talking about where leads are coming from, what can be improved, all that kind of stuff. Here's another slide just about specific search terms for within a Google Ads campaign. And then again, cost control and how you can scale it. So you can choose how much you want to spend on a daily basis. There's probably minimums for sure, right? Where you're just too low. Generally, kind of like our rule of thumb, a good starting point is $1,000 a month on pay-per-click. Not to say that you can't do less than that, right? And it all depends on expectations and what you're trying to get out of it. But usually 1,000 is a pretty good start. We have, of course, you can go lower, and we have some as low as 300 to 500, but then it's a conversation of what are you trying to get at the end of the day, and then what other stuff do you have going on as well. And then, like I said before, you can scale it, right? So if you want more leads, you have bigger goals this year, you have a team, all these kind of things, you can just put more money into it, and then out comes X amount of more leads, right? So you can kind of figure it out, and yeah, it becomes very scalable. And then cost per lead. So this is a question we get a lot: is what's the cost per lead, right? And a lot of people are interested, and it makes sense, right? And it can be as low as $15 in certain areas. That's more buyer, and I kind of actually get into specifically the cost per lead. The cost per lead is a little bit of a loaded question, because at the end of the day, it's not purely about cost per lead, right? It's about ROI, right? So we could you could get a ton of leads at a low cost, but if they're not the leads you want, then it's not great for your bottom line. So it's a balance between the quality, what type of lead it is, but then there also needs to be volume there. With pay-per-click, depending on what strategy you're doing, you do need a healthy amount of leads per month, which I'll kind of get into later in terms of closing rate. But here's just the general overview of some of the things that we found. And we don't always run we don't run a ton of all of these campaigns. So for example, we don't really run cash offer, sell my home, pay-per-click campaigns. It's very expensive. It's like $30 to $130 a click, maybe more in some areas. The ROI is huge, but it is like, yeah, like if you're in that space, you should be budgeting like 5 to 10 grand a month. So you just have to be able to withstand that. And you really need to know what you're doing. And you're a PPC specialist, or if you're running it, you really, really need to know what you're doing when it comes to that amount of cost per click. A real estate agent campaign, usually $5 to $30 per click. I don't have a lot of stats on the cost per lead on that one, just because LSA does take a hefty amount of that traffic away. But it can be effective campaign. It comes down to also your landing page, your value proposition, which we'll get into in a second. What's my home worth? So these are the seller type keywords, generally $2 to $5 per click, $10 to $30 per lead. And then this is one of the more popular campaigns that you'll see most people run because of, again, the volume, this kind of buyer, and that can range from $10 to $30 per lead. Again, these are approximates, can be different depending on where you are in the market. So now, what makes an effective PPC campaign, right? So how do we run one that can ensure results? So first thing is we need the right website. We need the right landing pages. So a lot of this is kind of like no-brainer kind of stuff, but I'll just go over it for the sake of it. So obviously you need professional design. It's gotta look good. It's gotta be user-friendly. They gotta know where they're going and get there quickly. People have limited attention spans, right? So it's gotta be very crystal clear. Responsiveness, right? It's got to be on mobile where most of the clicks will happen. The information, like they have to get the information they want very quickly, right? So when we run buyer campaigns, we want to show them listings of exactly the homes that they're looking for, right? So if it's a pool home in Cape Coral, they better go to a landing page that is a pool home for Cape Coral, right? And they better have an option to search and narrow down that search because maybe they have a different price point. If you're running a buyer campaign, you need to have a lead capture to get maximum results. We do have some clients who don't, right? And that is certain situations where it can make sense. But for the most part, you really need a forced lead capture. So that means when they click on the property, a lead capture pops up and asks for their information. If you don't have that, you get a lot of people clicking and they'll look at a few properties, they'll leave. Tomorrow, they'll Google Miami homes for sale again, and now they're going to Zillow or another website where they can capture their information. Contact information specifically for some of those real estate agent campaigns or cash buyers. You need to be able to, people need to have CTAs and put in your information very quickly. And then of course it needs to be fast, right? People don't have time to wait 3, 4, 5+ seconds to load. It's got to be quick. And then again, for a buyer campaign, you need an IDX feed, which is showing all the homes within your area. So that's some of the components. So here's an example of a landing page so this is a Real Geeks website, a landing page for Cape Coral homes for sale. So you can see here they have, right away, it shows you the homes. It has options to refine your search. Obviously, they'll be able to scroll down. This is just an image. And then if you click on a property, this is what you get. This is your lead capture. So they don't get an option to go and scroll through different properties. We hit them right away with it. A lot of people are like, oh, maybe let them look around first and then show them. We've done many tests and found that that only decreases the number of leads. It does not increase quality. People after 3 are no different in terms of filling out the lead information than if you hit them right away with the lead capture. So you might as well just show your hand, try to get them right away, and try to maximize your lead flow. Here's a landing page. So this is, I believe, a Carrot website, which I think they're really big for investment, cash buy houses stuff. So if you do want to play in that area, I think Carrot is a great landing page. Simple CTA, you can see says exactly what you are or what you offer, and then gives you your phone number. This is a landing page. Again, we don't really run a lot of these, and this is not my landing page, but I thought it was quite effective for a real estate, someone looking up a realtor in a certain area, has a contact information, has your phone number, and then tells a little more about the services they add. And then these are some of the platforms that are fairly effective when it comes to pay-per-click from at least a buyer and a home valuation standpoint. There's certainly more out there. But these are some of the good ones. But yeah, there's a lot of different platforms that can accomplish these goals for you. And then how the PPC campaign, so you got your website, it's all great, and then how it's set up is the next big component of it. So of course you have to be targeting the right keywords, right? You can't have different keywords sending it to different ad copy. You need the right type of keyword. This is kind of getting a little more technical, and if you've played in the Google ad space, you kind of know the difference between broad and phrase and exact match. But broad will give you a lot of terms that you don't want, so it's better to focus on phrase and exact. Your ad copy is very important. Again, it's got to match your keyword. So if it's Miami new homes, your ad copy better have Miami new homes in it and your headline, and then having other value propositions in there. If you could include numbers, that usually draws people attention. So if you knew the exact number of listings available in the area, say like 2,334 listings available right now, those type of things can really enhance your click-through rate. And then, yeah, your value proposition can certainly help. Landing page, kind of spoke about that before. It needs to line up exactly with what they are searching for. Bidding on what, like your keyword, what type of bidding you're doing. So you have to bid enough so that you do show up in the top spot or one of the top spots. If you're buried down deep, it's going to be much harder. And there's different ways to bid within Google. And then budget. We kind of talked about it before. If you have a very, very low budget, say like, so Google runs in Bing on a per day. So I mentioned before $1,000, which is around $30 a day. If you start getting into like $5 a day, it's very tough to really go anywhere with it and make a lot of changes. So you do want a decent budget for it if possible. And then again, it's PPC is not just a set it and forget it type thing. There's a lot of things that you can do. You saw all the information previously, so it needs to be optimized. And what that means is monitor search terms. So Google's not perfect. They're going to show you search terms that are not relevant. A lot of times things can sneak in there, like people looking for rent or cheap or homes under a very low price point or people non-English, Spanish. And if you're not targeting then that can eat up your budget. So monitoring those on a regular basis, make sure it's 100% accurate, reviewing the data, the clicks, the costs, the impressions, all that kind of stuff, and making changes based on that. So like pausing keywords that are eating up your budget but not producing results. That's not good for anybody, right? So we got to pause those, and then we have to shift the budget over to keywords that are producing results. And then again, like if you're working with a company, they should be doing all of this stuff for you. And if you're doing it yourself, you better be doing it too, or else you're going to get not great results. But for most of our clients, of course, it's great to have a knowledge of PPC. Like it's fantastic speaking to someone who knows a little bit about it. So even if you don't run it yourself, like just being here and knowing more about it, having educated conversations is extremely beneficial. But for most of you, it's follow-up and understanding expectations. So leads can vary. Leads can be several months out. They could be a year out. We did a study of 30 of our clients recently, and they said it was approximately 4 months before they got their closing from pay-per-click. And again, that can vary, and that's why longevity is extremely important with pay-per-click. You'll find the longer they do it, the better they are, because they get all these leads from year one who are now closing in year two, and they've already produced all leads in year one. So it just kind of builds, it kind of snowballs. You're building this massive database. A lot of people will convert. It's whether or not they convert with you or not. So knowing that, yeah, they're all different in terms of where they're at. And then lead conversion. This specifically is for a buyer campaign, which we have the most experience with. Again, many of them can be sellers, but usually it's like 1 to 3%, 1 being probably average-ish, 3 being like very, very high, right? So if you can get 3 deals out of 100 leads at $15 a lead, like that's a pretty crazy good ROI for most markets. And you can figure this all out if you figure out like, okay, what do I think my conversion rate is going to be? What do I think my cost per lead is going to be? And then what is the GCI or median price? You can kind of work out and figure out like what would be my approximate income or ROI from it. Speed to lead. I don't think I'm probably saying anything out of people hasn't heard before, but it's extremely important. And there's also a difference between knowledge and doing something about it, right? Is actually having a system and then repeating that system again and again, regardless of because obviously there's some rejection, but consistency is huge. Following up, it takes a lot of touch points, right? Again, people can be very early in their buying. So are you going to continue to follow up? Because I guarantee one agent out there will, and they'll probably be winning. And then it's, of course, delivering value versus, I think people could tell if you're just in it to have a quick sale or you're like strictly transactional, like you're just a transaction to them versus actually trying to deliver value and enhance their life. I think that goes way, way further than just trying to get a closing as quick as possible. I really like this quote from Dale Archdekin about building rapport with leads who aren't ready to do business. Business is just future business waiting to happen. So it's a great reminder. And someone else said, I think Greg Harrelson, who's a coach out in Myrtle Beach, is like, either he said it or someone else, but he's like, every lead is a possibility. It's either a now lead, a future lead, or a referral, right? Maybe they don't want to work with you, but maybe, or they're not ready, but maybe they have a friend. So it's like every lead is an opportunity. And then quickly, how to get started with pay-per-click. So this is, I would say, like, I would strongly advise working with a company that specializes in real estate pay-per-click, and emphasis being on real estate, because real estate pay-per-click is a lot different than running for like a plumber or electrician. Or if you do want to do it yourself, learning from someone who specifically has done real estate pay-per-click at a high level. I think those are 2 very, very important things to understand. And then quickly, just common mistakes that I see among other campaigns that I've checked out from other agents or other people is sending traffic to your homepage. That's usually a no-no. You want to send them to your specific landing page, like we talked about. Only targeting a few keywords, like only going after your city, which generally you want to go after a lot more because more data, you can make better results. Conversion tracking isn't set up. If you don't know which ads or keywords are generating leads, then how do you really optimize anything? This is a very, very common one with people who do it themselves. Broad match kind of got into. It's usually a no-no. Rare cases we would run that. Keywords don't match the ad copy in the landing page. So you have to think as a consumer would. If I'm looking up acreage in Fort Worth, like the ad copy has to talk to me about that, and then the landing page has to fulfill what the ad is. And then this one is, you think this is a typo, but Google Ad Reps, they're not always looking out for your best interest in terms of, so they don't specialize again in real estate pay-per-click. They may be fine for a small business, right? Maybe a dentist. It's very basic, right? Dentist near me. But with real estate agents, some of the campaigns, they can be a little bit, not complicated, but like in depth. So not working with a Google Ad Rep, and again, learning from someone who specifically does real estate, is a huge, huge plus. And then there's an option to do smart mode versus expert. Google Ad Reps will want you to do smart mode. You should be doing expert, which gives you a lot more options. And if you learn from someone, you'll be able to learn and understand all of that. But yeah, that's you know what? That's not bad. Only 2 minutes past 12:30. Um, so thank you for everyone. I know I ran through that pretty quickly, but hopefully there's something you can take away from it.
No, Philip, and again, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do this. And you were so detailed in all the steps, kind of breaking everything down for everybody. There were so many takeaways. I guess first and foremost, and I want to echo this, is what Philip said: is hiring a true practitioner, somebody who eats, sleeps, and breathes that particular industry and genre. I can't stress enough. There are generalists and there are specialists. And, obviously, Philip, you and your organization, they're very specific into the real estate space. And that is something to have a direct alignment with. Now, if you're bringing somebody on, you want to align with somebody like Philip. Now, if you're doing it yourself, once again, learning from somebody who's been there, done that, bought the t-shirt at a high level is crucial. So one way or the other, there's a lot of value there. I think looking at it for your individualistic needs for your growth, your business. And Philip, correct me if I'm wrong, but paying and doing this is not necessarily for everyone. And I think it's when I say that, you've got to be in the right place in your business to really look at
Yeah.
this into a long, mid-term sort of scenario. And you had mentioned kind of a minimum of 1,000 on a monthly basis. That's a lot for a lot of people, but that's very little for a certain group of people as well. So again, it just depends on who you are, what your goals are, and where you're looking to go. I think having an honest conversation with somebody like you and then saying, hey, like, this is what I'm looking to do. Does it make sense for me to move forward? I guess maybe that's a question for you. I know we're over time though, Phil, but if you could break it out to LCA, like when is the right time to jump into pay-per-click? Like if you were to paint the picture of a real estate professional to start doing this, is there a time frame in their career? Is it a certain amount of revenue that they're
Yeah.
bringing in? Like where do you kind of break that down just for everybody out there?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, it is somewhat dependent. I think it is for like I said, you kind of need to have the budget to support it, right? So you could be a newer agent and have the budget to support it. The other thing is too that I didn't mention is, or I briefly did, is the longevity. Like you can't just run pay per click for 2 months and then be like, hey, I'm going to give it a try, right? It's very, very rare where you'll get results from that. It's something that you should be trying for like 6 to 12 months to give it a real go. And
Mhm.
so you just have to be in a position to invest the right amount and then also give it enough time. So for the most part, it is probably agents who have already had some success in real estate with referrals or
Mhm.
something like that, or it's people that potentially have worked for a while and have the money to invest. But a lot of it does come down to just like, do you have the right expectations? Because I think that's
Okay.
extremely important and something that we try to really set at the beginning so that
Mhm.
everybody is on the same path and there's no surprises. Um, so most likely it's probably people who have had a few deals under their belt and now really want to grow and systemize their business.
Okay. And I appreciate where you're coming from with that because that's honesty, that's transparency. And I think that's the best way to start any relationship, business or personal or professional, is to look at it from that standpoint. Now, Philip, as you're kind of breaking this down and mentioning it, I think that it's incredible for everybody to know. And we've got several questions jumping in here. What is a cost like that looking for on average? If somebody's looking for a product or service such as yours, is there certain price points that people should be expecting? Obviously, there's their ad spend, there's the budget, but then,
Hmm,
what for hosting and for actually doing the work, right? Because it's all hands off. You guys are doing it all. So, I
for
mean, what
sure.
does that look like if somebody's looking to invest into this?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it can range, of course, just like anything.
Mhm.
People can do it for you as low as say $300 a month. Some people go as high
Mhm.
as $1,000 a month. I'm talking about management. A lot of people they gear it towards the budget, so it's a percentage of your advertisement is what their management would be. So just our management, for example, is $500 a month, regardless of ad spend. So
Okay.
you also have to take in that component. Um, and again, it's one of those things where you really want to be specific about who you're working with, and them having the knowledge and background and success goes a very far way. So I don't necessarily think it's something that you want to cheap out on,
Hmm.
because if it's not managed correctly, it's going to cost you a lot more. But that's why also it's like, again, if you're spending say $300, but you're paying a management company $500, does that make
Hmm.
sense? Probably not. So it's
Right.
like, this is probably not the best option then. At
Mm.
least, yeah, maybe it's yeah, there's something else that is better for you at that time.
Sure, sure, sure. And again, I appreciate you answering that question. And everybody has different price points and what their needs are. But I think ultimately it's finding the right time for you that makes sense for your growth pattern and for your business. Um, are you ready, willing, and able to do the back end work? And you had touched on follow up, which I think is crucially important. I mean, the fortunes in the follow up. Despite the quality, high quality, mid, low quality of leads are people. They raise their hand for a reason. What does your follow up look like? What does your touch point look like? What CRMs are you using? How does that all affect? So I think that that's something, correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but before you jump into anything like this, ask yourself, do you have that set up? Are you thinking about, when leads come in, what are you doing with them? Any advice onto that?
Yeah. I mean, if anybody wants to reach out, we have a ton of really, really good agents who have a system down pat in terms of follow-up. Obviously, and we have workflows that we share with people, and we have guides on how effective you can be. But in terms of, you should, yes, you should have some idea of what you're doing, right? In terms of like speed a lead, have a workflow set up within your CRM, that kind of stuff, and just kind of have an idea. Like, I'm going to be spending, say, 2 hours a day or an hour a day prospecting my database, right? Following up with those people. But I think some people do get caught up in like, I need everything to be perfect before I do it. And it's
Mm.
like, they never get to it because they're like, "Ah, it's not perfect enough," right? Whereas it's one of those things where you can learn as you go. You can have a foundation set and then improve, right? But some of the only ways you can improve is actually doing the thing, right? Is talking to the leads. So we have a lot of resources for people too, if they want to learn more about the follow-up side. But one of the best things you can do is honestly just get started.
Mm.
And
Love
it's
that.
just, most people, honestly, from my experience, they just don't call the leads. They don't treat them as valuable as they really are. So I think you're way above a lot of people if you literally just call the leads and try to build a relationship with them, as basic as it sounds.
Yeah, it sounds basic and simple, but again, people like to overcomplicate that factor. And but I love the fact that you're kind of sharing resources and allocating information so that your clients can have the maximum amount of success with any venture that they talk about for pay-per-click and so many services. And I know we are over time, so my apologies to the LCA family and the LCA world here. But we're just going over so much detail. Philip, I know you're really just scratching the surface. This was bullet point sort of details to get everybody understanding and kind of in line. If anybody wants to know more, if somebody is truly interested in kind of learning what you guys can do, PPC wise, LSA, SEO, all the services you provide, what's the best way for anybody to reach out, to connect, maybe to have a conversation? What's that look like?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. If you just go to our website, so asteriskmarketing.co, or if you Google us, Asterisk Marketing, you'll get to our website, fill out a contact information. I personally will get back to you. And if you want to just jump on a call, if you want to talk about how we can do it, if you want to talk about some of the things I spoke about, how you can do it, happy to chat with anyone. Um, yeah, I have a cheat sheet available too for those who are more DIY that I can send you, that has some ad copy and keywords and campaign structure. So yeah, just look up asteriskmarketing.co or just Google us. Happy to connect with anyone. Or I'm in the Lab Code Agent as well. Feel free to send me a DM on Facebook. Um, Happy to reach out to you there as well.
This was great, Philip. And again, I can't thank you enough. I did drop, and it looks like a couple links in there for everybody to click on directly to the website. But I can't encourage everybody enough to reach out to Philip directly. Take a look at the team. If this is something you're looking to do, aligning with true professionals and experts in the space is a must, in my opinion and perspective. So, Philip, I can't thank you enough, my friend. I appreciate all your knowledge and taking the time today.
Of course. I appreciate it, Greg. Thanks for
All
everyone
right.
who's joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, LCA family. We'll see you on the next live webinar. Again, I'm your host, Greg Fowler, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.